So here's a still from the movie Children of Men. And I did not create a soft two-strip version for this film yet. So I have to start from scratch. I will do a color space transformation to Cineon Film Lock. Then I will check my reference, and we can see we have very warm highlights. So for the LUT, I will choose D55. So in the balance node, I will bring down my contrast. I will increase the contrast, bring the exposure a little bit down, adjust the pivot a bit. So this looks good for a start. Then I go to my vector scope. I move the offset out of frame. So I have a clear view on my reference image here. And we can see it's a very thin shape. So I go to my RGB mixer and do a two-strip. Then I will lower the key output, and a good start is maybe 20 or 30%. Then I go to my offset, and I think I like to rotate the U, as you can see here. Wait, I will go back to my primaries. I have to reset this one. So I shift this one to the right, to magenta. I do a U rotate. So now I'm at 45. Then I bring this back and try to line it up. So maybe like this. This looks pretty good. Then I'm going back to my parade, go back to my balance, increase the contrast, bring down the saturation. So I check the saturation in this, in the vector scope. I think I want to move my reference sizing to the right. And go back to my balance and really bring down the pivot, I think. To crush the blacks more. So I bring the exposure down and the contrast up to get a similar look. Bring the exposure down. Go to my vector scope and check. And move the offset around. And this is good enough, so I'm not aiming for the perfect match again. So my highlights don't match, but I'm more focused on the skin and the overall look. So this is a movie scene and this is our scene. So maybe I want to add more saturation. And I think I want to lower the key output to 20. And I'm doing an image swipe and look at my trace here. So look at this shape. And now look at this shape here. And this is with the RGB mixer. Maybe we have to increase it to 30% or even more. And rotate the hue a bit. So I can go to my log wheels and maybe bring down the red and a bit of the green and my blue. So this is before and this is after. And for the highlights, I could also bring down my red and my green and the blue. So this is before and this is after. Yeah, that's a pretty good match, I think. So yeah, it looks good enough. So let's move on to the next film. So in this video, I will recreate the look of a scene from Iron Man 2. So this is a movie still, and here's a recreation. So as always, I will reset the nodes. So this is our Rec 709 image. As always, I leave it in Rec 709, but I will change the output gamma to Cineon film lock. Then I will start with the balance. And for balancing, as I said before, I like to increase the contrast. And sometimes I also like to increase the saturation. And then I will use the offset to maybe change the exposure or maybe balance my RGB values a bit better. And then I will reset my my saturation and my contrast. Maybe I bring down the exposure down. So this is before and this is after. So now it's getting a little bit reddish. So maybe I don't. So we can see it here in the blues. And also in the vector scope, if I increase the contrast and saturation and adjust to center it a bit till it looks good. Yeah, I don't think I have to balance this shot at all. So I leave it as it is. Then I go to my RGB mixer and do the same thing. In my blue output, I increase the green and reduce the blue and bring it down to 30% maybe. Go to my offset. No, first I will apply the Kodak 2383. And this one looks pretty warm, as we can see here in the parade. So I think I will choose D55. You can already see we're getting pretty close. So this is the movie scene and this is the Kodak. So this is a more neutral Kodak and this is the D55. So the D55 looks pretty good. Then I go back to my balance, or first I do an image wipe. Go back to my balance, reduce the contrast and maybe change the offset. So till it looks good. Then I go to my vector scope, go to my offset, and then I try to match the shape again of the trace, bring it down. And then I'm looking at my reference image and we can see that it's a very thin line. So I choose also a very thin line for my RGB mixer here. %, 30%. This looks pretty good. And then as always, I change the reference sizing. So I move this one more to the right so I can see the skin tones. I reset my offset and I can see here this is the original and this is my image I'm working on. And this looks pretty good. So sometimes you have to do the U rotation. But in this case, I don't think I need to rotate the U. I just have to match this, the trace. Maybe increase the saturation. And there are multiple ways to increase the saturation. So you get different results if you increase the saturation here before the RGB mixer, but you can also increase the saturation in this offset. But of course it looks different because this one is before the RGB mixer, and if we increase saturation here, we increase the saturation after the RGB mixer. So you just have to experiment and see what looks best. So I think I will increase the saturation here. Maybe warm up the image a bit, decrease the saturation. So I'm going back to my parade. And then the last step is to match the shadows and the highlights. And this, as always, I do this in node number 6. I go to my log. And then I will look at the shadows here. And maybe I want to reduce the blue. And I think the blue is the lowest part, which gives us a little bit of a green tint in the shadows here. And in the highlights, I will go back to my balance and reduce the overall contrast a bit. And change the exposure a bit. Then I will lower the green in my highlights and the red. So this is a grade from today. This is a final movie still. And this is the grade I did a couple of months ago, or almost a year ago. So as I said before, I'm not aiming for a perfect match. So I grab a still. Yeah, and it looks good enough. So this is before and this is after. It looks pretty good. So let's move on to the next movie.